Candle Road sounds gentle. It was not. Victorian Christmas nights held danger, hunger, and fear, wrapped in soft candlelight. These traditions were not cute rituals for postcards. They were survival. You walked frozen streets guided by flames placed by strangers. One wrong turn meant hours lost in snow. One gust of wind meant darkness. Families waited by windows, counting minutes, counting breaths, counting candles. Letters froze in transit. Food carts stalled. Children slept in coats. Candle roads were promises made by neighbors who might never meet. This boring history for sleep hides something personal. You know long nights. You know waiting. You know the quiet fear of winter silence. These forgotten Victorian Christmas traditions were built for people like you. Tired, cold, hoping the light ahead stayed lit long enough to reach home. Tonight you settle into Victorian winter. Snow presses against narrow streets. Gas lamps flicker and fade. Candle roads appear one by one. These were simple flames placed in windows, on gates, and along paths during Christmas week. They guided travellers, workers, widows, and children home after dark. This story follows ordinary people. A seamstress walking after night work. A clerk crossing frozen lanes. A family waiting for a son delayed by weather. Winter moved slow. Coal ran low. Bread grew hard. Candle wax mattered. Each flame carried care. Christmas meant effort, not comfort. Nights stretched long. Boots soaked through. Fingers numbed. Candle roads turned fear into direction. You walk with them now. Step by step. Quiet breath. Snow underfoot. Light ahead. You are here now. Thank you for joining me. Tell me where you are watching from and what time it is for you. Settle deeper. Pull the blanket higher. Let your shoulders drop. Take a slow breath in through your nose. Let it out gently. Feel the warmth grow. If this space helps you rest, tap like, subscribe, and leave a soft comment. Your presence keeps these stories alive. Stay still. Stay warm. Snow fell before dusk on Christmas Eve, 1843. It fell slow and steady. It did not hurry. It did not stop. London accepted it with silence. Roofs softened. Lanes narrowed. Footprints filled within minutes. The cold pressed into brick and bone. You walk these streets with care. Your boots meet frozen slush. Each step asks for balance. The air smells of coal smoke and damp wool. Shops shut early. Shutters close with dull thuds. Voices fade. Night claims the city sooner in winter. Along these roads, candles begin to appear. They glow behind glass. They rest on sills. They stand in jars tied with string. No law ordered this. No church demanded it. Neighbours placed them as habit and duty. Candle roads formed without maps. People knew where to set them. They knew who needed them. A seamstress named Eliza Ward steps into the street near Spitalfields. She pulls her shawl tight. Her fingers ache from stitching collars since dawn. Christmas orders filled the workshop. Payment came late. Her stomach stays empty. She carries no lantern. Oil costs too much. She trusts the windows ahead. Eliza walks the route she knows. On the first corner, a candle waits. Mrs. Hargreaves lights it every year. The flame bends with each draft. Wax runs down the side. Eliza nods as she passes. Gratitude stays quiet in winter. Candle roads serve many. Porters hauling parcels after dark. Apprentices sent on errands. Mothers returning from sickbeds. Children sent for bread before the last loaf sells. Each relies on steady points of light. The streets hold danger. Ice hides under snow. Open drains wait near curbs. Horses slip. Carts stall. Thieves move when darkness thickens. Candle roads do not remove fear. They reduce it. They offer direction. Further west, near the river, Thomas Bell waits by a window. He stands with hands behind his back. His son Edward left before noon with a sack of letters for delivery. Snow slowed him. Twilight passed. Thomas lit the candle at dusk. He trims the wick with care. He places it high so it shows down the lane. Edward knows this sign. He learned it as a boy. When weather closed the world, this light marked home. Thomas remembers his own father lighting the same sill years before. The habit holds. Inside the Bell home, soup simmers, coal burns low. The room stays cold despite the fire. Mrs. Bell wraps a scarf around her shoulders. She coughs into her sleeve. Winter sickness lingers this year. Bread turns stale before it finishes. Still, the candle stays lit. Outside, Edward moves slow. Snow clings to his coat. His boots soak through. The sack cuts into his shoulder. He stops at each corner to check landmarks. A church tower fades in fog. The river smells sharp. He looks for windows. One candle shows ahead. Then another. He follows them without thought. His breath steadies. He counts steps between lights. This rhythm keeps him warm. Candle roads also stretch beyond the city. In villages, paths between cottages glow during Christmas week. Farmers place lanterns on fence posts. Innkeepers set lamps by gates. Travellers arrive late after frozen miles. Horses strain. Wheels crack. These lights mark safety. In Yorkshire, a widow named Margaret Hales sets candles along the lane near her cottage. Her husband died the previous winter. He slipped on ice while hauling wood. Neighbours found him at dawn. Since then, Margaret lights the road without fail. She believes light keeps death away. She believes kindness returns. Margaret owns little. She saves wax through the year. She melts scraps. She pours new candles in old moulds. Christmas earns these efforts. Snow piles against her door. Wind shakes the shutters. Still, she steps out to place each flame. Children pass her gate with laughter muffled by scarves. They carry no gifts. They carry apples. They slide on frozen ruts. They glance at the candles with trust. Back in London, churches ring early bells. Sound travels far in cold air. People move faster. Darkness deepens. Candle roads glow brighter as the sky turns blue, then black. Some windows stay dark. Poverty closes many homes. Candle roads form with gaps. Walkers learn where danger waits. They memorize safe turns. Memory joins light. Eliza reaches a narrow passage near her lodging. One candle flickers at the end. She knows the woman who set it. A laundress with tired eyes. They share nods when paths cross. Words waste breath in cold. Eliza climbs stairs to her room. She blows on her hands. She lights her own candle from a stub saved for weeks. She eats bread crusts softened with tea. Outside, more lights appear. Christmas Eve deepens. The practice spreads during storms. Newspapers mention it in passing. Clergymen praise it from pulpits. No rules bind it. No leader claims it. People act from need. During the winter of 1843, snow fell heavy across England. Rail lines slowed. Coaches overturned. Food prices rose. Letters delayed. Candle roads gained importance. They guided not only feet, but hope. You feel this hope as you move with them. Each light says someone stayed awake. Someone thought of strangers. Someone shared warmth without meeting a face. Thomas Bell hears footsteps at last. Edward appears through snow. The candle shows him home. Relief loosens Thomas's shoulders. Mrs. Bell smiles despite her cough. The candle did its work. Edward shakes snow from his coat. He warms his hands. Outside, the flame burns lower. Wax pools. Thomas watches until it dies. He closes the shutter. Christmas night settles. Across the city and countryside, candle roads fade as sleep takes hold. Flames wink out one by one. Snow keeps falling. Morning waits. These traditions leave little record. They pass by word and habit, yet they shape nights. They shape memory. They shape how winter feels. You stand still now. The road glows faint. Breath slows. Cold eases. Light remains. Morning arrives late on Christmas Day. Snow clouds block weak winter light. Streets stay hushed longer than usual. Bells ring softer. Footsteps crunch slow. Candle roads sleep under white cover. You wake in cold rooms. Frost feathers the inside of glass. Breath shows. Fires wait for tending. Many homes rise early despite the holiday. Winter does not pause. Eliza wakes before church bells. Her room smells of damp wool and wax. She stretches stiff fingers. Yesterday's work lingers in her wrists. She washes her face in cold water. Ice rims the basin. She dresses in layers worn thin by years. She saves her better shoes for later. Snow soaks leather fast. Outside, candle roads leave traces. Melted wax dot sills. Blackened wicks lean in jars. Neighbors nod as they step out. Christmas greetings stay brief. Cold trims conversation. Markets open for half a day. Eliza joins others heading east. They walk together for warmth. Candle roads shift to daylight markers. Familiar doors, painted signs, bare trees bent by snow. At a bakery, loaves sell fast. Prices rose again. Eliza buys the smallest bread. She plans to share with her neighbor upstairs. The woman lost work after a cough turned harsh. Winter sickness spreads easy. Candle roads guide helpers to sickbeds as often as travelers. In another quarter of the city, Thomas Bell wakes sore from worry eased too late. He stirs the fire. Coal clinks low in the bucket. He counts pieces by habit. Edward sleeps still. His delivery sack leans by the door, stiff with ice. Thomas steps outside to clear snow. He scrapes a path from door to street. He checks nearby windows. Many candles burned last night. Some windows stayed dark. He notes which houses need checking later. Candle roads create quiet lists in the mind. Church brings pause. People gather wrapped tight. Breath fogs aisles. Hymns move slow. The preacher speaks of light in darkness. Heads nod. No one needs reminding. Afterward, neighbors linger despite cold. They exchange news. A coach broke an axle north of the city. A family near the river fell sick. A child went missing near dusk but returned by morning. Candle roads helped guide him home. Stories move fast on holidays. Edward joins friends for a short walk. Snowballs fly half-hearted. Laughter warms. They avoid frozen ponds. Last winter claimed 2 boys there. Candle roads near the water stay brighter now. Loss sharpens habit. Beyond London, villages wake slower. Margaret Hales steps outside her cottage. Snow reaches her knees. She clears the lane near her gate. Her hands redden. She hums to keep rhythm. Christmas brings memories sharp as frost. Margaret carries candles inside to dry. She inspects wicks. She sets aside those too short for night use. Wax supplies shrink. She plans careful. A traveller arrives by midday, a man from the next parish. His horse limps. He lost a shoe on frozen ground. Margaret offers shelter. She ties the horse inside her small shed. She feeds it oats saved for such need. Candle. Roads extend into daytime kindness. The traveller warms by the fire. He shares bread. He thanks her for the lights. He says they kept him from the marsh path where ice hides water. Margaret nods. She pours tea thin but hot. Across England, similar scenes unfold. Candle roads weave through daily acts. They guide children sent between relatives. They guide messengers carrying news of births and deaths. They guide workers forced to labour even on Christmas. In industrial towns, factories slow but do not stop. Shift whistles blow through snow. Workers walk before dawn. Candle roads line alleys near mills. Owners sometimes provide oil lamps. Often neighbours supply candles instead. Light fills gaps where wages fall short. In Manchester, a young spinner named Ruth Clark leaves her boarding house before sunrise. She follows candles set by women who work nights. Ruth's mother fell ill last winter. Ruth sends money home when she can. Candle roads keep her feet steady on icy stone. Ruth counts candles by habit. She knows who sets which flame. Mrs. Allen uses tall tapers. The widow Green uses short stubs. Each style speaks. When a candle goes missing, worry spreads. During storms, candle roads face threat. Wind blows flames out. Snow buries jars. People relight them through the night. They step out in shifts. This watch costs sleep. It costs warmth. It saves lives. Records show accidents dropping in winters where candle roads hold strong. Parish notes mention fewer lost travellers, fewer bodies found at dawn. These details hide in margins. They never gain headlines. Children learn early. Parents point out lights. They teach routes. They warn where darkness deepens. Candle roads become lessons without words. As afternoon fades on Christmas Day, snow falls again. Clouds thicken. Dusk arrives early. People prepare for night. Eliza visits her sick neighbor. She brings half her bread. She lights a candle by the bed. The woman's breathing rasps. Eliza stays longer than planned. Outside, darkness gathers. When Eliza leaves, candle roads return. Fresh flames glow. New wax smells sweet. She follows them with care. Her feet ache. Her shoulders slump. Light lifts her pace. In the Bell household, Mrs. Bell grows weaker. Fever warms her skin. Thomas worries. Edward fetches the doctor before dark. He moves fast along candle roads. The doctor follows later, guided by the same path. Care travels by flame. The doctor arrives as snow thickens. He treats Mrs. Bell with what tools he carries. He advises rest and warmth. He warns of the cold nights ahead. Thomas listens close. The doctor leaves before full dark. Candle roads guide him onward. Thomas watches each light until distance swallows them. He feels small against winter. Night deepens. Wind rises. Candle flames bend low. Some go out. People relight them. Others stay dark where wax runs out. Gaps widen. Margaret steps out again as night falls. She sets fresh candles despite wind. Her hands shake. Cold. Bites deep. She presses on. The lane glows. The traveller leaves her cottage with thanks. He promises to repay wax come spring. Margaret smiles. She knows promises freeze as often as paths. Still, she lights one more candle after he goes. Across towns and fields, candle roads burn through Christmas night. They mark care made visible. They mark people choosing each other over sleep. You walk among these lights. Snow hushes sound. Breath slows. Each flame steadies your steps. The second night after Christmas arrives colder than the first. Snow hardens into ridges. Footpaths turn slick. Breath bites sharper. Candle roads face their hardest test when celebration fades and routine returns. You move again through winter streets. The quiet feels heavier now. Fewer voices, fewer laughs. Work resumes. Grief resumes. Hunger resumes. Candle roads remain. Eliza leaves before dawn. Orders wait at the workshop. Cloth shipments stalled by weather arrived late. The foreman demands speed. Eliza steps out wrapped tight. The sky holds no colour yet, only dark blue pressed low. A candle burns across the lane. Another glows further on. These belong to people who also rise early. Bakers, carters, sweepers. The city breathes slow before sunrise. Eliza walks past a shuttered shop where a candle burned last night. Now it stays dark. She notes it. The owner lost his wife last winter. He saves wax for storms only. People ration light like food. At the workshop, cold settles deep. Stoves warm slow. Needles slip in numb fingers. Women stamp feet between stitches. Talk stays low. Someone mentions a girl who slipped near the canal last night. They hope candle roads helped her. They do not know yet. News travels by foot in winter. Messengers move along known paths. Candle roads guide them through fog and snow. Letters carry joy and sorrow alike. Some freeze in bags. Ink cracks. Wax seals break. Edward Bell leaves again with letters. His route stretches farther today. He wraps scarves twice. He trusts the lights. His father watches him go with tight lips. Mrs. Bell sleeps fitful. Edward reaches the river by mid-morning. Fog lifts off water like breath. Candle stubs line posts where boats tie. These stay even by day. They mark danger points. Ice thins here. A barge lies trapped near shore. Men work to free it. They swing axes. Ice cracks loud. Candle roads once guided night crews here. Now daylight replaces flame. Habit remains. In the countryside, Margaret Hales wakes sore. Her joints ache from cold. She warms hands by the fire before stepping out. Snow drifts against her door again. The lane needs clearing. Candle placement waits until dusk. Margaret eats porridge thin as water. She counts candles again. Supplies drop low. She plans which nights earn light. Christmas weekends soon. Storms stay. Villagers pass her gate with nods. They ask about the traveller. He reached home safe. The light saved him. Margaret smiles. Her chest warms despite cold. Children attend lessons even in winter. They walk in pairs. Teachers place candles near school gates. Lessons shorten. Ink freezes. Slates crack. Still, learning continues. In Leeds, a teacher named Samuel Price lights 2 candles every winter morning. He sets them near the alley. His pupils come from mills and yards. Their boots leak. He keeps the path clear as long as wax holds. Samuel lost a pupil years before to ice and darkness. The boy slipped near dawn. No lights guided him. Samuel never forgot. Candle roads grew from memory like scars. Back in London, the missing girl from last night appears at noon. She spent hours sheltered under a stair, afraid to move. Candle roads near her home ended early. Wax ran out. She waited until daylight. Her story spreads. Donations gather for candles. Neighbours pool resources. They share wax scraps. They melt them together. Candle roads strengthen when community answers need. Eliza hears this at lunch. She contributes a stub saved for weeks. The group thanks her. Small acts build paths. As afternoon darkens, wind rises. Snow threatens again. People prepare for night. Candle jars fill windows. Wicks trim short to last longer. Thomas Bell tends Mrs. Bell through the day. Fever holds. The doctor plans another visit at dusk. Thomas lights the path early. He sets extra candles. He fears the doctor losing his way. Edward returns before nightfall. He brings broth. He chops coal smaller to stretch heat. He checks the lights outside. He relights one blown out by wind. The doctor arrives, guided by steady glow. He praises the care taken. He treats Mrs. Bell again. He leaves instructions, and hope thin, but present. Candle roads carried help on time. Night closes hard. Wind howls. Snow lashes sideways. Flames strain. People step out to shield jars. They cup hands around wicks. They relight and retreat. Margaret faces the storm alone. She wraps shawls tight. She plants candles deep in snowbanks to block wind. Some go out. She relights them again and again. Her fingers numb. Her resolve stays. A man from the village joins her, then another. Word spreads. Candle tending turns shared. They rotate shifts. Fires inside wait. Outside, lights stay. Across regions, similar scenes play. People learn storms require effort. Candle roads become watch duties. Young and old take turns. In industrial towns, night shifts end late. Workers stumble home near exhaustion. Candle roads prevent slips into canals and pits. Owners note fewer injuries. They say nothing. Workers know. Edward escorts the doctor part way. They walk together along flickering lights. Snow crunches loud. Wind steals words. They part with nods. Edward turns back alone. He slips once. He catches himself by grabbing a post warmed by candle heat. He breathes slow. He thanks the unseen hand that placed it there. You feel this moment. The pause. The steadying. Light close enough to touch. Eliza reaches her lodging soaked and spent. She lights her own candle. She dries stockings by the flame. She eats a scrap of bread. Outside, candle roads continue. She sleeps to their glow, leaking through curtains. Toward midnight, storm peaks. Some lights fail, others hold. In the morning, people count losses. A cart overturned, but driver survived. A child wandered, but found home. Candle roads did their quiet work. Winter presses on. Christmas fades. The tradition remains. It bends. It adapts. It persists. You stand again on frozen ground. Lights stretch ahead. Breath slows. Shoulders drop. The road waits. January settles in with weight. Christmas fades into memory. Winter remains. Snow turns grey along roads. Ice thickens in shade. Candle roads shift from kindness to routine. You step into this season with slower breath. Days feel short. Nights stretch long. Work pulls harder. Rest comes thin. Eliza walks daily now before dawn and after dusk. The workshop demands steady output. Fashion waits for no storm. Her fingers crack. Thread bites skin. Still, she moves along the same paths. Candle roads greet her like old friends. Some windows no longer light each night. Wax runs low. Families choose which evenings earn flame. Storm nights rank first. Market nights rank next. Quiet, clear nights go dark. Eliza learns new markers. A nail driven into a post. A pale scar on brick. A loose stone near the curb. Candle roads teach awareness, even when absent. In the Bell home, Mrs. Bell improves slow. Fever breaks. Weakness lingers. Thomas keeps the candle ready though nights calm. Habit stays after need fades. He lights it at dusk still. Edward takes on longer routes. Winter delays stack work. He walks farther into unfamiliar streets. Candle roads thin there. Poverty deepens the dark. He relies on memory and luck. One evening, Edward loses the familiar line. Fog drops fast. Snow begins without warning. He pauses. He listens. Hooves sound distant. A door slams somewhere. He waits. A candle appears in a window he did not know. A child lights it after hearing movement outside. Edward sees it and moves toward it. The child's mother joins her at the window. They watch him pass. No words exchange. The light stays until he clears the block. Candle roads adapt like this. Response meets need without planning. In villages, winter chores pile. Livestock need feeding. Wood needs splitting. Paths need clearing. Candle placement joins the list. Margaret Hales wakes before dawn to tend her fire. She steps outside to check last night's lights. Some stubs remain. She gathers them. Wax returns to pot. Nothing wastes. Her hands ache more now. Cold settles deep in joints. She moves slower. Neighbours notice. They begin setting candles near her gate for her. Margaret thanks them with bread and tea. Pride bends under winter. A boy named Henry takes on candle duty near the marsh path. He lost his father to that ground years before. Ice hides water there. Candle roads mark safe edges. Henry learns early where danger waits. In towns, factories resume full pace. Shifts rotate through night. Candle roads near mills burn brighter. Workers pool money for oil lamps when candles fail. Management rarely assists. The light comes from below. Ruth Clark continues her walks. Her boots split at seams. She stuffs cloth inside. Candle roads keep her upright. She counts each flame like steps in prayer. One night, Ruth finds a candle knocked over. Wax spilled. Wick drowned. She rights it. She relights it with her own flame. She stays until it steadies. Others depend on this point. She knows. Across England, winter tightens grip. Rivers freeze in parts. Transport slows. Food prices climb. Candle roads do not fix hunger. They fix direction. That holds value. Churches host night prayers for safety. Candles line aisles. Outside, candle roads extend that care. Faith meets practice in small flames. Eliza hears of a woman who slipped and broke her leg despite lights. Candle roads reduce risk. They do not erase it. Winter claims still happen. People accept this truth without words. One evening, Eliza stays late at the workshop. Orders press hard. Darkness falls early. Snow returns. She steps out alone. The usual lights appear. One fails midway. Wind snuffs it out. She pauses. She considers turning back. She presses on. She keeps to the centre of the path. She slows steps. She watches ground close. A distant candle glows ahead. She fixes on it. Her breath steadies. She reaches it and moves on. At home, she warms by her candle. She sleeps deep. Candle roads echo even in rest. In the Bell household, Edward brings news of an accident near the docks. A man fell into icy water. Candle roads there stay dark due to theft. Candles stolen sell cheap. Desperation breeds new danger. Thomas joins neighbours to discuss guarding lights. They agree on watches. They place jars higher. They share wax to replace losses. Candle roads defend themselves through cooperation. Margaret hears of theft too. She worries. She hides her wax better. She still lights the lane. Fear does not stop her. Snow melts briefly, mid-month. Slush replaces ice. Roads turn slick again. Candle roads adjust. People place lights closer together to mark puddles and ruts. Children slip often. Adults slip too. Laughter masks pain. Winter humbles all ages. Samuel Price continues lighting the school alley. One morning, he finds his candles gone. He stands silent. Then he lights 2 new ones from reserves. He writes a note asking for help. By evening, 6 candles burn. Parents responded. Community answered. Candle roads rely on trust. When trust cracks, effort repairs it. Ruth Clark sends extra money home 1 week. Her mother's illness worsens. Ruth worries through night shifts. Candle roads guide her thoughts as well as steps. Each flame reminds her others walk similar paths. Edward takes on escort duty some nights. He walks with neighbours along darker routes. Safety increases with numbers. Candle roads stretch further this way. Eliza joins once. She walks with 3 others. Talk stays low. Shared pace warms more than flame. Margaret hosts a small gathering near month's end. Neighbours share stew. Candles line the table. They speak of spring without certainty. They plan more wax making. Winter will last yet. A storm hits hard near the end of January. Snow piles fast. Wind roars. Candle roads face strain again. People brace jars. They relight often. They take turns through the night. Henry slips near the marsh but stops short of danger. Candlelight mark the edge clear. He sits shaking until help arrives. He lives. Candle roads hold again. Morning reveals damage. Fences down. Roofs sag. But fewer injuries than feared. Lights helped. Winter grinds on. Candle roads remain. They do not seek praise. They serve. You move slower now. You know these paths. You trust small, steady lights. Cold still bites. Darkness still presses. Direction holds. February arrives without mercy. Cold sharpens. Snow packs hard. Ice refuses melt. Candle roads move deeper into daily life. They stop feeling special. They feel required. You step out again into this month. Light fades early. Dawn struggles. Every walk demands care. Eliza feels winter in her bones now. Her steps slow. Her breath shortens. The workshop grows quieter. Illness thins benches. One woman does not return after a fall. No one says her name aloud. Silence carries weight. Candle roads shorten near her street. Wax runs low. People light fewer points, but place them smarter. Corners matter most. Steps and slopes earn flame. Eliza carries a small candle now. She shields it with her coat. She learned this from others. When a gap appears, she fills it for herself and those behind her. One night, she meets an old man at a crossing. He hesitates. Ice gleams. Eliza holds her candle low. He nods. They cross together. She leaves the candle behind when he reaches his turn. She walks on in darkness until the next light. This exchange needs no thanks. In the Bell home, Mrs. Bell sits up now. Strength returns slow. She knits by firelight. Thomas smiles more. Edward still lights the window each night. Habit stays after fear fades. Edward notices fewer lights along his longer routes. Poverty spreads. Coal costs rise. Wax becomes scarce. Some streets darken almost fully. One evening, Edward loses his footing near a narrow bridge. Ice hides under snow. He drops to one knee. Pain flashes. He grips the rail. A candle glows at the far end. He focuses on it. He rises slow. He crosses without rush. Light steadies thought. In the countryside, Margaret Hales faces her hardest weeks. Fuel thins, food shrinks. Her body tires fast. Still, she lights the lane. Neighbours begin rotating candle duty. They bring wax. They take turns placing lights. Margaret watches from her door. Gratitude warms her more than fire. Henry grows taller this winter. He shoulders more tasks. He places candles with care. He checks wicks. He learns wind patterns. Responsibility shapes him. In towns, theft of candles increases. Desperation deepens. Communities respond by tying jars with wire. They carve initials into holders. Ownership deters theft some nights. Other nights, darkness wins. Samuel Price expands his efforts. He asks older pupils to help. They light paths before lessons. They learn service through repetition. Candle roads teach without words. Ruth Clark works extra shifts. Her mother's condition worsens. She writes letters by candlelight. Ink thickens in cold. Words come slow. She walks home late nights guided by shared flames. She feels less alone on these walks. One night, Ruth finds a woman collapsed near the mill gate. Cold stole strength. Candle roads guided Ruth to her. She calls for help. Others arrive. The woman lives. Candle roads hold again. Storms strike in waves through February. Snow piles high. Wind scours lanes. Candle roads bend, but persist. People learn new methods. They sink candles into snowbanks. They shelter flames behind boards. They place lanterns when wax fails. Adaptation keeps paths alive. Eliza slips once and bruises her hip. Pain flares. She rests by a doorway where a candle burns. She waits until breath steadies. She moves on slower. The light gives patience. In darker quarters, some families stop lighting altogether. Fear replaces habit. Others step in. Churches place candles outside doors. Inns set lamps by alleys. Shared effort fills gaps. Edward escorts a group of apprentices one night. They joke to mask fear. Candle roads thin ahead. Edward sets his own candle at a corner and leaves it. He tells them to follow close. They do. They reach home. Margaret receives news of a neighbour lost to sickness. Winter claims still happen. Candle roads guide mourners to the cottage. They light the lane brighter that night. Respect shows through flame. Henry attends the funeral. He watches candles flicker in wind. He understands now why his father placed lights years ago. Loss sharpens duty. As February wanes, days lengthen slightly. Dusk delays by minutes. Candle roads adjust timing. People light later, extinguish earlier. Wax stretches further. Eliza notices this shift. She welcomes it. Light lifts mood. Her steps lighten. She still feels cold, but senses change. In London, river ice breaks. Flows grind loud. Candle roads near docks remain vital. Workers slip often. Lights prevent worse. Edward helps rescue a man from a barge gap one evening. A candle marked the edge clear. The man steps wrong, but catches himself. Edward pulls him back. Both breathe hard. The candle stays lit through it all. Ruth sends word home of hope. Her mother responds faint but steady. Candlelight carries letters both ways. Samuel Price sees attendance rise as paths clear. Children return. Learning resumes fuller. Candle roads shrink near school as daylight grows. Margaret melts remaining wax. She counts how many nights remain before spring warmth. She plans final placements. She knows when to let go. A late February storm hits fierce but brief. Candle roads meet it with practiced hands. Lights hold. Morning comes clear. Snow glistens under pale sun. Ice softens slightly. People step out with caution and hope. Candle roads begin to fade. Some jars empty. Some windows stay dark. Daylight earns trust back. Yet habit lingers. People still light at corners out of instinct. They keep one candle ready. Eliza keeps hers close. Edward keeps lighting the window. Margaret keeps a small flame by her door at dusk. Ruth carries matches. Samuel keeps 2 candles stored. Winter loosens grip but does not release fully. Candle roads remain ready. You feel the change. Breath deepens. Steps ease. Light grows without flame. Still, memory stays. The path learned remains. March edges in without warmth. Snow pulls back slow. Ice loosens its hold in patches. Mud replaces white. Candle roads shift again, not gone, not needed as often, but still present in thought. You walk now with mixed footing. One step sinks, the next slips. Winter releases uneven. Candle roads adapt to this change. Eliza notices longer light at day's end. She leaves the workshop with colour still in the sky, yet shadows stretch deep between buildings. Candles return at corners where meltwater hides stone. Her hip still aches from February's fall. She moves careful. She watches ground close. Candle glow reflects in puddles. Each reflection doubles light. At the workshop, talk turns towards spring orders. Lighter cloth. Brighter colours. Still, coal stays dear. Nights stay cold. Candle roads remain useful. One evening, Eliza helps place candles near a broken drain. Water pools deep there. A child slipped days before. Neighbours decide to mark it until repairs come. Candle roads respond to fresh threat. In the Bell household, Mrs. Bell steps outside for the first time since illness. She leans on Thomas's arm. The air smells damp instead of sharp. She smiles faint. Edward watches close. He keeps the candle lit anyway. Habit resists change. Edward's roots shorten as daylight grows. Yet fog rolls in sudden from the river. Candle roads remain vital on those nights. Fog steals distance. Light anchors movement. One evening, Edward escorts an elderly woman part way. She grips his arm. Candlelight guides them through mist. She thanks him with a nod. He leaves a candle behind when they part. Someone else will need it. In the countryside, Margaret Hales feels relief and worry together. Thaw brings new danger. Mud hides holes. Streams swell. Candle roads shift from ice warning to water warning. Margaret and neighbours move candles closer to ground. They mark soft edges. They mark places where carts sink. Candle roads remain maps drawn in flame. Henry helps daily now. He learns to read land in thaw. He learns where water moves. He learns how light changes reflection. Candle duty becomes lesson. In towns, factories push output as transport improves. Night shifts continue. Candle roads near mills still burn. Workers walk home exhausted. Thaw increases risk. Slips turn worse in mud. Ruth Clark loses a boot in muck one night. It sticks fast. She pulls free with effort. A candle ahead marks a dry strip. She reaches it and laughs once. Relief sounds thin but real. Samuel Price notices attendance rise as paths clear. He reduces candle use slowly. He removes one first, then another. He watches children adapt. He keeps spares ready. In London, street repairs begin. Men dig through frozen ground. Trenches open hazards. Candle roads respond. Lights mark pits at night. Safety follows flame. Eliza walks past such a trench after dusk. A candle burns beside it. She sees the drop clear. She steps wide. She whispers thanks without knowing who placed it. March brings rain, heavy at times. Wind lashes. Candle flames struggle more now than in snow. People shelter them better. Glass jars matter more. Lanterns replace open flames in some streets. Thomas Bell helps install a small lantern near his lane. Wax failed too often in rain. The lantern burns oil pooled from neighbours. Candle roads evolve into light roads of any kind. Edward carries extra matches. He relights when needed. He notices children playing longer outside now. Laughter returns. Risk remains, but fear eases. Mrs. Bell knits by the window again. She watches the lantern glow. She rests. Recovery tastes slow, but steady. Margaret Hales melts her final winter wax. She pours small candles meant for rain. Shorter. Thicker. These last through drizzle. She plans to stop when days stretch further. One night, a calf strays near the marsh. Candle roads guide farmers to it before dawn. They save it. Life continues because light guided steps. Loss still occurs. A cart overturns in mud. A man breaks a leg. Candle roads reduce harm, but do not erase chance. People accept this without complaint. Eliza hears of a neighbor leaving the city. Work shifts. Life moves. Candle roads outlast individuals. They belong to place more than person. As weeks pass, people forget to light some nights. Habit loosens. Candles remain stored near doors, ready. Edward notices this change with mixed feeling. Relief pairs with unease. Darkness taught care. Light now risks carelessness. He remains watchful. Ruth Clark receives word. Her mother improves. Spring air helps lungs. Ruth walks home lighter. Candle roads still guide her on late shifts, but she smiles more. Samuel Price holds a lesson outside one afternoon. Sun warms stones. He points out where candles stood all winter. Children remember paths. Memory stays even as flame fades. Margaret sits outside her cottage on a bench. She watches water run down the lane. No candles burn. She keeps one inside still. Ready. A late March storm arrives sudden. Snow returns for a night. Wind snaps buds. Darkness thickens. Candle roads wake without delay. People light from stored stubs. Lanterns hang again. Paths glow. No panic rises. Practice guides response. Eliza lights her candle without thought. She walks steady. Edward sets lanterns along his lane. Margaret steps out once more. Henry joins her. They place lights quick. Storm passes by morning. When daylight returns, snow melts fast. Candle roads dim again. They retreat to memory. By month's end, nights hold more light than dark. Candles burn less. Windows stay open longer. Breath no longer bites. Yet people still glance at corners where flames once stood. Eyes seek guidance out of habit. The body remembers. Candle roads leave marks deeper than wax. They teach pace. They teach attention. They teach care for unseen others. Eliza carries this into spring. Edward keeps a candle by the sill. Margaret keeps one by the door. Ruth keeps matches in her pocket. Samuel keeps jars stored. Winter taught them. They do not forget. April brings longer days, yet nights still hold chill. Winter loosens its grip, but keeps a hand on the door. Candle roads fade from streets, yet remain alive in memory and habit. You walk now with lighter steps. The ground smells wet and new. Buds show on bare branches. Still, darkness falls quick after sunset. Old caution stays. Eliza leaves work as twilight settles. The workshop doors stand open longer now. Air moves through rooms. Dust lifts. She breathes deeper. Her hip heals slow but steady. She notices fewer candles each evening. Windows glow with firelight instead. Streets rely on habit and sight. Yet when clouds gather, candles return without discussion. Practice never fully leaves. One evening, rain falls hard. Gutters overflow. Stones slick. A neighbor places 2 candles near a broken curb. Eliza sees them and steps wide. She smiles. The road remembers. At home, Eliza sorts her few belongings. She finds candle stubs saved all winter. She melts them into one small candle. She sets it by the door. Ready. In the Bell household, Mrs. Bell grows strong enough to walk alone. She opens windows wide. She lets fresh air sweep rooms. Thomas watches her with quiet relief. Edward reduces his night work as daylight stretches. Yet fog still rolls from the river at times. Candle roads wake for these nights. Lanterns glow near docks. Edward joins others checking lights before dusk. Shared duty remains. One night, Edward meets a boy new to the area. The boy looks lost in fog. Edward guides him using lantern markers left from winter. He leaves one lit until the boy reaches safety. Candle roads extend beyond season. In the countryside, Margaret Hales plants seeds in thawed ground. Her hands shake less now. Sun warms her back. She works slow. She keeps one candle inside still. Habit comforts. Neighbors visit more often. They They bring news. Lambs born, fields soften, travel improves. Candle roads see less use but no disrespect. People store jars clean and dry. Henry helps mend fences damaged by winter storms. He remembers where candles once marked danger. He warns others. Light turns into memory marks. In towns, factories push longer hours as transport resumes. Workers leave late still. Candle roads remain near mills. Fewer candles burn, but key points stay lit. Ruth Clark feels spring lift her chest. She walks home after shifts with less fear, yet she still watches corners where candles once burned. She steps careful out of habit, learned hard. One evening, Ruth finds a candle placed fresh near a flooded alley. Someone saw need and acted. Ruth nods as she passes, no words needed. Samuel Price reorganizes his schoolroom. He stores candle jars high. He cleans soot from shelves. He keeps 2 lanterns ready. He teaches children about winter paths. They listen. A lesson forms without plan. Samuel walks them through the village. He points out places once marked by flame. He explains why. Children remember. Candle roads move into minds. April storms strike sudden. Thunder rolls rare but sharp. Rain pounds roofs. Darkness falls early under clouds. Candle roads wake again. Eliza lights her candle and steps out. Rain soaks her coat. Flame flickers behind glass. She shields it with her body. She walks steady. The road feels familiar again. Edward checks lanterns by the river. Wind whips water into chop. Fog thickens. Lights hold. Boats tie secure. No accidents tonight. Margaret hears thunder and steps out to check the lane. She places 2 candles near runoff. Water rushes fast there now. Neighbours see and add more. Shared response comes quick. After the storm, days turn mild. Grass greens. Birds return. Candle roads rest longer between uses. People begin to forget the cold pain. Memory softens. Yet habits remain. Candles stay near doors. Lanterns stay filled. Matches stay dry. Eliza considers moving rooms. Work improves. Spring orders pay better. She plans slow. Candle roads taught patience. In the Bell home, the candle finally stays unlit some nights. Thomas notices and feels both relief and loss. He leaves it ready. Edward looks towards summer roots. He still carries matches. He learned their value. Margaret sits outside in evening light. She watches sun linger. She rests. She does not light the candle. She knows where it stands. Ruth writes home about longer days. Her mother breathes easier. Hope spreads gentle. Samuel closes windows at dusk instead of lighting candles. Children leave later. Streets hold light longer. April ends with clear skies. Stars show bright. Nights feel safe again. Candle roads sleep. Yet when darkness comes sudden, hands reach for flame without thought. Winter carved this response deep. You walk these paths now with ease. Feet know where to land. Eyes know where danger hides. Light taught this. Candle roads fade from view, but not from you. They shaped how you move through dark. They taught care. Even as spring claims ground, the memory of flame stays warm. May arrives with longer evenings and softer air. The city smells different. Damp stone warms. Coal smoke thins. Yet night still comes. Darkness still hides trouble. Candle roads do not vanish. They change shape. You walk in this new season with winter habits still in your body. Your shoulders stay ready for cold. Your eyes still search corners. Your feet still test ground before full weight. Eliza leaves the workshop near sunset. Light lingers in the west. Clouds glow pale. She pauses at the door and listens. Wagons roll. Children shout. A dog barks and runs. This noise feels strange after winter hush. She walks toward home through streets where candles once marked every turn. Now windows show open curtains and supper light. Some families sit near sills without flame. They talk. They eat. They breathe easier. Eliza still carries a small candle in her pocket. She keeps it wrapped in cloth. She does not use it most nights. Still, she likes the wait. It reminds her of safer walking. A week into May, a late fog drifts in from the river. It slides through alleys and under doors. It swallows landmarks. The air cools fast. People who forgot winter habits feel nervous. Eliza steps out after visiting her sick neighbour. The woman improved, yet coughs at night. Eliza stayed longer to fetch water and sweep the floor. Now she faces fog and dim light. She sees no candles at first. Then she sees one. It sits in a jar on a stair ledge. Someone lit it without announcement. It glows weak through mist, yet it gives direction. Eliza walks toward it. She passes it and spots another further on. Candle roads wake again. She does not know who lit them. She does not need to know. The simple fact of light matters. Across the city, Thomas Bell walks with Mrs. Bell in the evening. She moves slow. She holds his arm. Her face looks fuller now. Colour returns to her cheeks. They pass the corner where their winter candle once burned each night. The sill looks bare now. Mrs. Bell touches the frame with her fingers. Thomas looks down the lane and remembers long nights of waiting. Edward walks ahead with a small parcel. His work changed. He delivers fewer urgent letters now. Roads clear. Coaches run. People travel again. Still, Edward keeps habits from winter. He carries matches. He carries a small lantern for fog nights. Some co-workers laugh at him. He says nothing. He learned what darkness does. On the docks, fog causes trouble in May. Sailors misjudge distance. Workers slip on wet boards. Lanterns hang at key points. Some old candle jars return too. Dockmen use any light that holds. Edward helps set a few lanterns at a crossing. A foreman asks him to help since he knows the safest lines from winter. Edward agrees. He feels useful. In the countryside, Margaret Hales watches her lane change colour. Green pushes through. Water runs clear. Birds return loud at dawn. Her hands still ache, yet warmth eases pain. She stores her candle jars in a dry chest. She keeps one candle on the table near the door. It stays there as habit. She lights it only on dark nights. Henry visits often. He helps with planting. He carries water. He listens to Margaret's stories. She speaks about the winter when the lane felt like a trap. She speaks about the night she relit candles in a storm until her fingers numbed. Henry listens without jokes now. He understands duty. He does not seek praise for it. One evening, Henry walks home late. A rain shower hit hard. Clouds hide the moon. The lane turns slick. He sees one candle near Margaret's gate. It burns inside glass. Margaret lit it after hearing thunder and wind. Henry nods toward the cottage. He moves on. A second light appears further down. A neighbour placed it near a shallow ditch that fills during rain. Henry follows the lights and reaches home safe. In Manchester, Ruth Clark enters a season of mixed relief. Her mother improves, yet money stays tight. Ruth works long hours still. Spring brings orders and speed. The mill air stays thick. The machines do not slow. Ruth walks home late some nights. She passes streets where candles once burned steady in winter. Now many windows stay dark. People trust street lamps and longer light. Yet mills end shifts late. Darkness still covers those hours. One night in May, a young worker joins Ruth on the road. The girl looks new. She wears a thin coat. She looks tired and unsure. Ruth remembers her own first winter in town. Ruth slows her pace and walks beside her. Fog thickens. A street lamp fails. The road ahead turns dim. Ruth reaches into her pocket and pulls out a match and a candle stub. She lights it and holds it low. The flame shakes in wind but stays alive. The girl watches the flame and relaxes her shoulders. They walk together until they reach a brighter street. Ruth blows out the flame to save wax and tucks it away. This act feels small. It matters. Samuel Price sees his pupils stay out later in May. They play after lessons. They race sticks. They throw stones at tin cans. They forget winter. Samuel watches them and feels glad and wary at once. He remembers the boy who died years ago. He remembers the winter when darkness took one slip and turned it into loss. He keeps his lanterns ready. He keeps candle jars clean. He does not want to need them. He prefers being ready. A village near Samuel's school holds a May evening gathering. Families share bread and cheese. They sing soft. They keep voices low. They end early. Night still holds chill. As people leave, Samuel lights 2 candles at the school gate. He does this without reason beyond caution. Children pass and smile. Parents nod. No one asks why. Candle roads become a quiet language. One light means someone thought ahead. It means someone expects walkers. It means someone values safe steps. In London, Eliza learns about another form of candle roads. A woman in her building tells her about hospital windows. Some wards place candles at night in windows facing the street. The candles do not guide travellers home. They guide urgent messengers who bring doctors. They guide family members who search for the right door. Eliza thinks of her neighbour's cough. She thinks of winter sickness. She feels a tightness in her chest. She decides to learn the nearest hospital routes. She walks them in daylight one Sunday. She marks turns in her mind. Winter taught her not to wait for darkness to learn paths. On a late May night, a man in her street cries out. A cart rolled over a foot. The wheel caught wrong. The street holds puddles and ruts. The injured man groans on the stones. Neighbours rush out. Someone yells for a surgeon. Someone else runs toward the main road. Eliza steps back inside, lights her candle, and sets it in her window. She places it high where it shows down the lane. She does this without thinking much. Her hands move from winter habit. Within minutes, another window lights, then another. 3 small flames show through night air. A messenger returns with help. The surgeon finds the door fast. The injured man survives. He loses work for weeks, yet he lives. Afterward, neighbours talk in low voices. They do not call it candle roads. They do not name it. They simply say the lights helped. Thomas Bell hears about this accident and thinks about his own winter. He thinks about the candle he lit for his son. He thinks about the night the doctor found their home in snow and wind. He keeps his lantern near the door even as summer nears. Edward sees the value too. He asks a friend at the post office about candles used as signals during fog. The friend says some streets still use them. Not for holiday now, for safety, for quick help, for lost travellers. Edward starts watching for these signs. He notices patterns. Near steep steps, a candle appears on wet nights. Near the river, lanterns hang lower when fog thickens. Near narrow alleys, a candle burns when a shift ends late. He begins to view the city as a map of care. It is not full care. Poverty still bites, crime still lurks, yet small flames show effort. In Margaret's village, a child goes missing one evening. The boy chased a dog. He ran beyond the last cottage and into a field edge. Night fell. Clouds hid stars. Panic spreads. Men take lanterns. Women call his name. Margaret stands at her door and lights her candle. She tells Henry to place 2 more along the lane toward the field. Henry runs. He sets them in jars by fence posts. Other neighbours add more. The lights do not search on their own. They support the searchers. They prevent more people from getting lost. They mark the safe return path. After an hour, the boy appears. He clutches the dog's collar. His face looks wet with tears and rain. A man carries him back toward the lane. Candle flames guide them home. The boy sees the lights and stops crying. He presses his face into the man's coat and shivers. Margaret watches him pass. She feels the old winter tightness loosen. She blows out her candle later with steady breath. These events happen outside official records. They happen without speeches. They happen because people remember winter. As May nears its end, a clear night arrives in London. The sky shows stars. Air stays mild. Streets carry late laughter. Eliza walks home without lighting her candle. She keeps it in her pocket anyway. She stops once near a corner where a candle used to sit every night. She looks at the bare sill. She thinks about the hands that placed it. She thinks about how those hands might now tend gardens or children or jobs without winter fear. She continues walking. Her steps feel easier, yet she keeps the habit of looking ahead, of checking ground, of noticing others. You feel this too. Winter habits stay in you longer than the season. Light in a window feels like help, even when you do not need it. A small flame feels like company. Candle roads do not belong only to Christmas. They belong to any time darkness tries to swallow the road. They belong to fog, rain, injury, and fear. They belong to the quiet decision to make a path safer for a stranger. You stand now at the edge of summer. The air feels softer. The nights feel shorter. Yet you still know how fast darkness can return. The flame remains ready. June settles in with steady warmth. Days stretch long. Shadows shorten. The city breathes easier. Candle roads withdraw from view, yet their influence stays close, like a hand resting on your back even after it pulls away. You walk now under evening light that lingers. The sky holds colour past supper. Streets fill with voices. Windows stay open. Curtains lift with breeze. The night feels less threatening, yet it still hides sharp edges. Eliza finishes work with daylight to spare. She steps into the street and pauses, letting sun touch her face. This pause feels earned. Winter demanded motion without rest. Summer allows stillness. She walks home slowly. She watches children run. She watches carts roll smooth on dry stone. She notices how different the same streets feel without ice. She also notices where danger remains. A cracked curb, a loose stone, a narrow drop near a cellar door. Candle roads once marked these. Now memory does. Eliza keeps her candle near the door still. She does not plan to light it tonight. She likes knowing it rests there. Ready. In the Bell household, evenings stretch quiet and calm. Mrs. Bell sits by the window sewing. She hums soft. Thomas reads. Edward comes home earlier now. His steps sound lighter. One evening, Edward joins neighbours outside. They sit on crates and steps. They talk of work and plans. Someone mentions the winter lights. They speak of them without pride. They speak of them as fact, as something done. Edward listens more than he speaks. He looks down the lane where candles once burned each night. He remembers counting them during storms. He remembers relief when one appeared ahead. He remembers fear when one failed. He keeps his lantern clean. He oils the hinge. He stores it near the door. Along the river, fog still visits even in summer. It creeps in without warning. Boats drift close. Dockboards turn slick. Lanterns hang ready. Candle jars sit stacked nearby. One evening, fog rolls thick near sunset. Dock workers move quick. Lanterns light. A few candles appear at ground level to mark edges. The pattern returns without discussion. Light meets need. Edward helps again. He feels no burden in this. He feels calm focus. Winter taught him how to move in these moments. In the countryside, Margaret Hales works her small plot early and late to avoid heat. Her joints feel better now. Sun helps. Movement helps. She stores most of her winter supplies away. She cleans jars and wraps them in cloth. She keeps one candle near the door still. Habit does not rush. Neighbours gather more often now. They share bread and talk. They plan fairs and markets. Yet when clouds darken late in the day, someone always glances toward the lane. Someone always checks the sky. Henry grows confident. He helps lead younger boys. He teaches them where the ground dips. He tells them stories of winter storms and lights. They listen with wide eyes. These stories do not scare them. They prepare them. In Manchester, Ruth Clark finds evenings warmer and brighter. She walks home under pink skies some nights. She breathes easier. Her shoulders loosen. Yet shifts still end late. Machines do not care about seasons. When Ruth leaves work under clouded skies, she still looks for light markers out of habit. One night, a heavy rain hits hard. Streets flood fast. Gutters overflow. A man slips and drops a crate. Others rush to help. Ruth spots a candle burning near a submerged step. Someone placed it there earlier. The light warns feet away from danger. Ruth helps guide people around the flooded spot. She does not speak much. She points. She moves. She leaves once the flow slows. The candle burns until rain eases. She walks on feeling steady. This work feels natural now. Samuel Price watches summer evenings stretch. He lets children stay later after lessons. He sits on the steps and listens to them play. He watches where they run. He notices which corners draw care. One evening, a boy trips near the old drain by the school wall. He scrapes his knee. Samuel steps over and lifts him gently. He checks the spot. He makes a note. The next night, Samuel places a candle there despite clear weather. He does this for habit, for marking, for teaching. Children notice. Parents nod. Candle roads turn into reminders. They say this place matters. This place holds risk. Walk here with thought. In London, a heat wave arrives sudden. Days turn heavy. Nights stay warm. Windows open wide. Candles seem out of place now. Fire feels wrong in heat. Yet one night a fire breaks out in a nearby street. Smoke rises fast. People shout. Panic spreads. The fire brigade rushes in. Eliza hears cries and steps out. She sees confusion and movement. She does not light a candle. Instead, she sees others light lanterns and torches to guide people away from danger. Light still guides. Form changes. Fire destroys 2 houses. No lives are lost. Paths stayed clear. People found exits fast. The next day, Eliza walks the damaged street. Charred beams stand. Ash smells sharp. She notices candles placed on sills near the burned homes that evening. Not for guidance now. For respect. Light still speaks. Thomas Bell visits the site later. He removes his hat. He thinks of winter fires fueled by desperation and cold. He thinks of how light helped then too. Edward delivers messages for families displaced by the fire. He walks routes learned during winter. He guides people without thinking much about it. In Margaret's village, summer brings travellers. Walkers pass through more often. Some lose their way near dusk. Lanterns help. Candles appear again at forks and gates. Margaret places one such candle after a traveller knocks asking for direction. She lights it and sets it where paths split. She leaves it until the traveller returns safe and waves thanks from the road. She blows it out with care. June nights carry insects and soft sound. Candle flames draw moths. People learn to shield them better. Lantern glass helps. Henry watches. Moths circle flame one evening. He thinks about how winter drew people the same way, toward warmth, toward safety. In towns, public lamps spread more widely now. Streets grow brighter. Candle roads fade further. Yet they remain in pockets. Places lamps do not reach. Places money skips. Ruth walks through one such place near the mill. A narrow cut between buildings. Lamps end. Darkness pools. She reaches into her pocket and touches the candle stub still there. She does not light it. She feels calm knowing it waits. She exits the cut and steps into light. She exhales slow. Samuel Price updates his lessons. He speaks about summer hazards now. Water, heat, crowds. He still mentions winter lights. He says habits save lives. He says memory matters. Children listen with half attention. Play calls them louder. Samuel smiles. He knows lessons plant seeds. As June deepens, nights grow gentle. Stars shine late. The moon casts enough light on its own some nights. Eliza walks home under moonlight once. She notices how the moon casts shadows like pale candles. She smiles at the thought. She keeps walking. Edward spends evenings with friends. They laugh more. Yet he still leaves early on fog nights. He still checks the river paths. Light taught him timing. Margaret sits by her door in the evening. She watches the lane empty. She hears owls. She rests. One night, a storm flashes far off. Thunder rolls distant. She lights her candle without hurry. She sets it by the door. She waits. The storm passes with little rain. She blows out the candle. She smiles at herself. These acts no longer feel urgent. They feel natural. like checking a door latch, like setting water by the bed. Candle roads changed how people think. They changed how people move. They changed how people watch out for each other. Even as summer fills the world, the lessons stay. You walk these roads now without flame. Your steps feel sure. Your eyes know where to look. You notice when a light appears and when it does not. You know what it means when someone lights a window at the right moment. The season moves forward. The habit remains. July arrives warm and full. The sun lingers late. Streets stay alive deep into the evening. Candle roads withdraw almost fully from sight, yet they remain close beneath the surface of daily life. You walk now in heat that softens stone. Dust replaces mud. The air smells of bread, sweat, and summer flowers sold at corners. Night feels gentle, yet darkness still arrives when storms gather or power fails. Eliza works with windows open wide. Light pours into the workshop. Fabric colors brighten. Hands move faster. Laughter returns in small bursts. Winter feels far away, yet not forgotten. She leaves work near dusk and walks home without hurry. She passes the corner where her candle once burned through snowstorms. The sill now holds a pot of herbs. She touches the wall as she passes. Habit stays even when need fades. At home, Eliza keeps her candle near the door. She does not plan to light it soon. She likes knowing it waits. Readiness brings calm. In the Bell household, evenings stretch long. Mrs. Bell sits outside with neighbours. Chairs line the street. People share tea and news. Children play until stars show. Thomas listens more than he speaks. He watches light fade slowly instead of dropping sudden like winter. He still notes the sky. He still feels time shift when clouds gather. Edward spends more evenings near the river. Work slows. Deliveries shorten. He helps friends mend boats and nets. Fog stays rare now, yet when it appears, he reacts quick. One late July night, fog rolls in, fast and thick. People scatter indoors. Lanterns appear along docks without delay. A few candles join them at ground level to mark slick edges. Practice returns smooth and silent. Edward moves through fog with steady pace. He checks each light. He adjusts one jar tipped by wind. He steps back and watches it hold. He feels a quiet pride without naming it. In the countryside, Margaret Hales rises early to avoid heat. Her garden thrives. Beans climb. Greens fill beds. She eats better now. Strength returns. She no longer lights the lane at night. Still, she keeps one candle on the table. She keeps jars stored clean. She keeps matches dry. She knows how fast seasons turn. Henry visits less now. Summer work calls him elsewhere. When he comes, they sit outside and talk. Margaret tells fewer winter stories now. She talks about harvest hopes and fair days, yet she still mentions the lights sometimes. Henry listens. In towns, factories run hard in summer. Heat inside mills weighs heavy. Workers stagger out late with heads low. Candle roads rarely appear now, yet lanterns sometimes mark hazards left from repairs. Ruth Clark works long hours still. Summer does not ease labour, it changes it. Heat drains strength. Machines roar louder. She walks home at night through streets alive with sound. Music drifts from open windows. People laugh. Yet when a sudden storm hits one night, streets empty fast. Rain falls heavy and sharp. Gutters flood. Stones slick. Ruth sees a candle burning near a deep puddle by the mill wall. Someone placed it earlier, expecting rain. The light warns her away from danger. She adjusts her path and keeps walking. She does not slow. She trusts the signal. Candle roads still serve even now. Samuel Price closes his school for summer weeks. He spends time repairing desks and shelves. He cleans lanterns and candle jars, even though he does not expect to use them soon. One afternoon, a boy from the village helps him. The boy asks why he keeps old candle holders. Samuel answers simply. He says light saves time when time matters most. The boy nods and keeps working. In London, summer brings crowds. Markets swell, streets clog. Accidents happen easier when many feet press close. One evening, A horse panics near a narrow street. It slips and blocks the way. People shout and scatter. Darkness grows as clouds roll in. Lanterns lift. Candles appear in windows nearby to mark exits and safe turns. Eliza stands in her doorway watching. She sees confusion turn into order as light guides movement. The horse calms. The street clears. No one gets crushed. Later, Eliza lights her candle briefly and places it on the sill as thanks. She blows it out after a few minutes. She smiles at the quiet ritual. Thomas Bell hears about the incident. He nods. He understands how light still matters, even without winter fear. Edward helps deliver messages again that night. He moves through crowds guided by familiar routes learned during darker months. He trusts memory shaped by candle roads. In Margaret's village, travellers arrive for summer fairs. They stay late. Paths fill with unfamiliar feet. Lanterns appear at turns and gates again. Candles join them when oil runs low. Margaret places one candle near her gate on fair nights. She does this to guide strangers back to the main road. She sits inside and listens to distant voices fade. She blows out the candle when quiet returns. In Manchester, Ruth helps a co-worker home one night. The woman twisted her ankle in heat and haste. Ruth supports her weight. They move slow. A street lamp fails ahead. Darkness pools. Ruth reaches into her bag and lights her candle. She holds it low and steady. They walk together until they reach brighter ground. The co-worker thanks her soft. Ruth nods. She does not explain why she carries the candle. She does not need to. Samuel Price walks the village at dusk sometimes. He notes where children play and where they stumble. He keeps mental marks. He places candles when needed without ceremony. One evening, a storm knocks out a lamp near the bridge. Samuel places a lantern there and leaves it burning through the night. He removes it in the morning. No one comments. Everyone benefited. July nights grow warm. People sit outside later. Fireflies appear in fields. Candle flames blend with them in gentle glow. Henry watches fireflies one night near the lane. He remembers winter lights and feels a strange comfort. He understands light draws safety and life both. As the month moves on, storms come fast and leave fast. Candle roads wake and sleep as needed. They no longer dominate nights. They support them quietly. Eliza plans a short trip to visit family outside the city. She maps her route in daylight. She notes ins and turns. Winter taught her to prepare early. Edward helps her plan. He points out safe paths. He mentions where lanterns often appear in storms. She listens. Margaret prepares for harvest. She mends sacks and tools. She keeps candle jars stored. She checks wicks now and then. Habit remains gentle. Ruth saves money where she can. She keeps her candle stub and matches close. She trusts them more than luck. Samuel stores his lanterns high yet ready. He rests more now. Summer gives him ease. As July ends, a night arrives clear and calm. Moonlight bathes streets. Shadows lie soft. People walk without fear. Eliza walks home under moonlight and feels grateful. Edward stands by the river and watches water shine. Margaret sits by her door and listens to night sounds. Ruth rests her feet after work. Samuel sleeps with windows open. Candle roads sleep deeply now. They do not disappear. They wait. The habit of care stays awake even when flame does not burn. August arrives heavy and slow. Heat lingers after sunset. Air presses close. Nights feel thick rather than dark. Candle roads rest, yet their presence still shapes how people move when light fails. You walk now through warmth that dulls sound. Footsteps feel softer. Voices carry less urgency. Even so, danger still hides where ground breaks or crowds thin. Eliza spends August working fewer hours. Orders ease. Summer cloth sells fast, then slows. She uses evenings to walk longer routes. She studies streets without winter stress. She notes where shadows deepen early. She learns where sound changes. Candle roads taught her to read place beyond light. One evening, clouds gather without warning. Thunder mutters distant. Air cools sudden. People hurry indoors. Eliza stays out a moment longer. She smells rain before it falls. A street lamp flickers and dies near a narrow turn. Darkness pools quick. Eliza reaches into her pocket and touches her candle. She pauses. She listens. She hears footsteps behind her. She waits. A woman approaches carrying a basket. She hesitates at the dark turn. Eliza lights her candle and holds it low. The flame steadies. The woman nods and walks with her through the corner. They part without words. Eliza blows out the flame and moves on. In the Bell household, August brings visitors. Relatives come from outside the city. They crowd rooms with talk and laughter. Windows stay open late. Light spills outward. Thomas watches the street more than the talk. He notices how shadows fall now that leaves fill trees. He sees how familiar corners shift shape. Candle roads trained his eye. Edward works fewer delivery hours. He spends evenings helping neighbours with repairs left from winter. He mends a step where ice once broke stone. He fixes a rail near the bridge. These acts reduce the need for light later. One night, Edward walks home under heavy cloud. A sudden rainstorm hits hard. Water floods a low spot near the river stairs. Edward knows this place well. He places a lantern there taken from a nearby shed. He leaves it burning through the storm. In the morning, he retrieves it. No one thanks him. No one needs to. The path stayed safe. In the countryside, Margaret Hales feels heat more than cold now. She rests during midday. She works early and late. Harvest approaches. Fields fill with sound. She lights no candles most nights. Still, she checks the sky at dusk. Storms rise fast in August. She keeps matches close. One evening, lightning cracks close. Rain follows hard. Margaret hears shouts from the lane. A cart tipped in mud. A wheel sank deep. Men struggle to right it. Margaret lights her candle and places it by the door. She then sets another at the edge of the rut. The light shows depth. The men adjust. The cart frees. They thank her with nods and smiles. She blows out the candle once quiet returns. Henry hears about this and smiles. He knows the lane well. He learned from winter that light shortens trouble. In Manchester, Ruth, Clark works through August heat. Mills turn unbearable. Sweat drips. Air barely moves. Workers leave drained. Ruth walks home late with shoulders slumped. She passes through a narrow cut between buildings where air cools slightly. One night, she hears a cry. A young man slipped and cut his arm on broken glass. Blood runs dark. Ruth kneels and presses cloth to the wound. Another worker runs for help. Ruth lights her candle and sets it on the ground near them. The flame steadies hands. It marks the spot for the helper returning with aid. The man survives. He thanks Ruth later. She shrugs. She says little. She carries the candle home again once help arrives. Samuel Price uses August to repair village paths with others. They fill ruts. They clear drains. They remove stones loosened by frost months before. As they work, Samuel points out places where candles once burned. He explains why those spots mattered. Men listen. They nod. Work continues. One afternoon, a boy asks if they will need candles again. Samuel says yes. Winter returns every year. Darkness never leaves fully. Preparation saves effort later. The boy considers this. He helps tamp dirt into a hole. In London, August crowds bring new risks. Markets overflow. Street performers gather people close. Pickpockets work edges. Accidents follow noise. One evening, a child trips near a busy crossing at dusk. People rush past. Eliza sees the fall and steps in. She lifts the child. She lights her candle and holds it high so others see. Movement slows. The child stands. No injury. The candle draws order out of rush. Thomas Bell witnesses this from across the street. He nods once. He feels a quiet satisfaction. Winter lessons carry forward. Edward hears of a dock accident prevented by a single lantern placed early. He shares the story with friends. They agree to keep lanterns ready even in summer. They learn trust in light. Margaret prepares for harvest nights when work stretches late. She plans lantern use. She cleans glass. She trims wicks. She knows fatigue invites error. Henry helps gather supplies. He carries jars and oil. He understands this duty without complaint. Ruth writes home about the heat and long hours. She mentions helping someone hurt. She does not mention fear. She learned to manage it. Samuel prepares lessons for autumn. He includes stories of winter lights. He believes memory keeps people safe longer than rules. As August wanes, nights grow slightly longer. Dusk arrives earlier by minutes. People notice without naming it. Eliza feels the shift. She places her candle closer to the door. Edward checks his lantern wick. Margaret moves her candle back to the table. Ruth replaces spent matches. Samuel brings lanterns down from high shelf. These acts happen without signal. Bodies remember seasons before minds do. One late August night, a sudden fog settles thick across the city. It surprises many. Street lamps glow dull halos. Sound dampens. Candle roads wake again. Windows light here and there. Lanterns appear at corners. People slow. Paths regain shape. Eliza steps out into fog and smiles faint. She lights her candle without hesitation. She walks steady. Edward moves along the river and sets 2 lanterns where fog thickens most. He works calm. Margaret lights one candle near the lane and waits. Henry places another further on. They watch fog move like breath. Ruth helps guide 2 workers through a dark stretch. She lights her candle and leads. They reach home safe. Samuel walks the village checking corners. He places one lantern near the bridge. He returns home and rests. By morning, fog lifts. Light returns. Candles go out. Lanterns store away. No one remarks much. It felt normal. August ends with warm days and cooler nights. Summer begins its slow turn. Candle roads rest but remain ready. You feel this readiness now. You know how fast dark can fall. You know how small light changes everything. The road stays clear because someone prepared. September arrives with quieter mornings and cooler evenings. Summer releases its hold without struggle. Light softens, shadows lengthen, candle roads begin to stir again, not from fear, but from memory waking on its own. You feel the shift before you name it. Air cools your skin after sunset. Sounds travel farther. Footsteps echo longer. The road feels different underfoot. Eliza notices dusk arriving earlier each day. The workshop closes with lamps lit again. The first time this happens, no one comments. It feels expected. Fabric colours dull sooner. Hands slow slightly. She walks home beneath a sky already turning grey. A chill brushes her neck. She reaches the corner where winter candles once burned. Nothing lights yet, but she pauses anyway. Her body remembers. At home, she moves her candle back to the windowsill. She does not light it. She sets it where it once stood. The placement alone brings comfort. In the Bell household, September brings routine. Mrs. Bell cooks heartier meals again. Windows close earlier. Thomas fetches extra coal. Edward checks lanterns stored through summer. One evening, clouds roll in thick and fast. Rain follows. Streets darken before supper ends. Thomas lights the window candle without discussion. Mrs. Bell nods. Edward smiles faint. The flame feels familiar. Edward leaves to deliver a message later that night. Rain slicks stone. Shadows deepen. He follows a line of lanterns placed by shopkeepers who remember winter too. Candle roads begin to reform. Along the river, fog returns more often now. Not thick, but frequent. Dock workers hang lanterns earlier. Candle jars appear again near steps. No announcement marks the change. Practice simply resumes. Edward helps set 2 lights one night before fog thickens. A younger worker asks why they bother so early. Edward answers without detail. He says it saves time later. The worker nods and helps. In the countryside, Margaret Hales feels autumn settle into her bones. Harvest nears end. Days shorten. Evenings cool fast. She lights her candle again some nights. Not every night. Only when clouds gather, or when she hears late footsteps. The flame glows soft against early darkness. Henry returns to help with harvest. He works until light fades. Lanterns appear at field edges. Candles mark the lane again where ruts hide under fallen leaves. Henry places one candle near the bend where mud collects. He learned this spot during thaw. The light saves a wagon from tipping. No one says much. They keep working. In towns, factories push for autumn orders. Shifts extend. Workers leave late again. Candle roads reappear near mills. Lanterns hang lower. Candles burn in jars near broken paving. Ruth Clark feels the season change keenly. Cooler air helps her breathe. It also brings fatigue earlier in the day. She adjusts pace. One evening, she leaves work under a sky already dark. Rain falls light but steady. She spots a candle glowing near the mill gate. Someone placed it early. She follows. It's guidance without thought. A younger worker slips nearby but catches herself. She laughs shaky. Ruth steadies her. They move on together. Samuel Price prepares for the school term. Children return restless and loud. He notices how quickly dusk now arrives at lesson end. The first week back, he places 2 candles at the school gate again. Parents notice. No one questions it. They remember. Samuel tells his pupils about changing light. He teaches them to notice ground in shadow. He reminds them where winter danger waits. Children listen more than before. They remember stories. In London, leaves begin to fall. They hide uneven stone. Slips increase. Candle roads respond. Eliza nearly falls one evening near a pile of wet leaves. She catches herself. The next night, she places her candle at that corner and leaves it burning until midnight. Others pass and benefit. Thomas Bell hears of a small accident avoided because of a candle placed early. He nods. He feels the quiet return of winter habits. Edward escorts a group of workers one night through a foggy stretch. He sets his lantern down at a fork and leaves it there until all pass. He retrieves it later. The act feels routine now. Margaret Hales sits by her door most evenings. She listens to wind in trees. She lights her candle when it gusts hard. She knows how wind hides sound and direction. Henry walks the lane with confidence now. He teaches a younger cousin where candles appear and why. He does this without pride. It feels like passing along knowledge earned. Ruth writes home about cooler nights. Her mother responds with relief. Autumn eases lungs. Ruth feels steadier. One night, Ruth hears shouting near the mill. A man twisted his knee on wet leaves. Others gather unsure. Ruth lights her candle and sets it beside him. The light focuses attention. Help arrives faster. Samuel hears of this and smiles. Light still gathers people. September storms hit sudden and sharp. Rain floods streets briefly. Candle roads appear during these moments. Windows light. Lanterns swing. Candles glow low. Eliza walks through such a storm, guided by scattered flames. She feels calm. She remembers winter nights far worse. This feels manageable. Edward moves along the river during a storm and checks each light. He adjusts one jar knocked by wind. He leaves satisfied. Margaret lights 2 candles during a heavy rain to mark runoff. Neighbours add more. The lane stays safe. By late September, nights cool enough to see breath again. Fires light earlier. Candles burn more often inside and out. People do not call it winter yet. They call it change. They respond quietly. You feel this change too. Your body tightens slightly at dusk. Your eyes adjust faster. You notice light again. Candle roads return without ceremony. They never truly left. They waited. As the month ends, a clear, cold night arrives. Stars shine sharp. The air smells clean. Eliza walks home beneath them and feels prepared. Thomas lights his candle out of habit. Edward checks his lantern. Margaret trims a wick. Ruth counts matches. Samuel sets jars by the door. Autumn deepens. Winter waits ahead. The flame stands ready. October arrives with cold breath and sharper nights. Autumn turns firm. Leaves rot into slick layers. Wind moves faster through bare branches. Candle roads return not as memory now, but as practice renewed. You feel it in your body first. Shoulders lift at dusk. Hands seek pockets. Steps shorten. The season speaks without words. Eliza feels the change as soon as clocks shift. Darkness arrives early. The workshop closes under lamplight again. Fabric dulls sooner. The air smells of damp wool and smoke. On the first cold evening, Eliza lights her window candle again. She does not think long. Her hands move with certainty. The flame steadies. Outside, another light appears across the lane. Then another further down. Candle roads reform almost whole. She walks home guided by familiar glow. Fallen leaves hide uneven stone. Candles mark safe edges. She moves calm, prepared. In the Bell household, October feels like a return. Mrs. Bell knits thicker garments. Thomas brings coal in early. Edward cleans lantern glass and trims wicks. One evening, Edward leaves to deliver letters through fog that settles sudden. He sees candlelight ahead and behind. The road looks like winter again. He breathes slow and moves steady. Along the river, lanterns hang nightly now. Fog grows frequent. Dock workers trust light more than sight. Candle jars return to posts and steps. Practice resumes without delay. Edward helps guide a cart through thick mist. A candle marks a drop near the water. The cart passes safe. No words exchanged. Work continues. In the countryside, Margaret Hales feels winter press close. Frost touches fields some mornings. Her joints ache again. She lights her candle most nights now. The lane darkens early under cloud. Leaves clog drains. Mud returns. Candle roads mark danger once more. Henry takes up candle duty again without being asked. He places lights where he remembers winter accidents happened. Memory guides his hands. One evening, a neighbour slips near the bend. The candle there prevents a fall into the ditch. The man laughs shaky. Henry says nothing. He relights the candle and moves on. In towns, factories push hard before winter shortages. Shifts stretch long. Workers leave late under dark skies. Candle roads return near mills in full. Ruth Clark walks home under cold rain one night. Her breath shows faint. She spots candles placed near broken stone. She follows them without thought. A young worker stumbles ahead. Ruth steadies her and points toward the next light. They move on together. No fear. Just focus. Samuel Price lights candles at the school gate every evening now. Parents expect it. Children notice when one goes out. He teaches again about winter paths. He speaks about watching ground, about listening to wind, about following light. His voice stays calm. His pupils listen. October storms hit hard. Wind snaps branches. Rain lashes. Candle roads face their first true test since winter. Eliza steps out into one such storm. Her candle flickers, but holds. Others shield theirs with boards and jars. The street glows uneven but steady. Thomas lights extra candles along his lane. Neighbours join. Edward checks each flame. Mrs. Bell watches from the window, heart calm this year. Margaret steps into rain with shawls tight. She places candles deep in jars. Henry follows, setting more. The lane lights up against wind. Ruth helps guide workers home as storm worsens. Candles and lanterns create a clear path. No one panics. Practice holds. Samuel walks the village checking corners. He adjusts lights blown low. He feels tired but steady. By morning, storm passes. Damage shows. Branches down. Roof tiles loose. Yet no one lost. Candle roads held. October continues cold and wet. Nights grow long. Candles burn earlier each day. Eliza moves with confidence now. She no longer fears darkness. She respects it. Light taught her how. Edward feels winter ready in his bones. He prepares roots. He plans lantern placement. He feels calm. Margaret stores food and trims wicks. She prepares without dread. She survived last winter. She trusts this one more. Ruth feels stronger. She carries her candle always now. She knows she will need it again soon. Samuel prepares for colder lessons. He keeps light ready. He keeps stories alive. As October ends, the first snow threatens in the air. Clouds hang heavy. The world quiets. Candle roads stand ready once more. You stand with them now. Breath slow, body warm. The road ahead lit not by fear, but by care repeated. Winter will return. Darkness will test again. The light waits.